The staff tells me that you are already on fire. That's what I have been hearing. That
God bless you. Hey, I got to tell you, more cameras here. I feel like I'm at the Chinese embassy, baby. Let's go. I know. I feel like we have camera, all of you. We have evidence. Now you tell us all your early jokes from the 80s. You know what? Ever since you couldn't play other nationalities, I stopped working.
Oh, yes.
You can't play other nationalities anymore.
You did a few of those, didn't you?
Because, if my mom's Asian, it makes me Asian. Because they give a shit. They do.
Oh, I know. It's so funny you mention that because the editorial I am doing this Friday on Real Time is about how casting directors go back to being casting directors and cast the person who's best for the role, and not whether their profile as a person, a real-life person, matches the role. Tom Hanks says he wouldn't do Philadelphia today because he's not gay and the character is. It's called acting. Yes,
you're supposed to be able to play people you're not. That was the whole point of it.
Exactly. Why do you think actors want to be actors? Because they don't want to be themselves, right?
But what happened, though, is that there's a creep that's happened, which is, I think you may have noticed it. There's a creep of, like, trying to make the world better.
A lot of creeps out there, man.
Trying to make the world better and making it way worse by being such pussies about everything. And I can't, even at the hotel. I got wherever the hell I'm staying. They don't even tell you what kind of shampoo it is anymore. They don't say what flavor or whatever, whatever.
Why?
It just says not tested on animals.
Oh.
And as if, and I'll tell you the truth, I don't care. I'll tell you another one.
Well, I do care about that.
I want you to test it on animals. I mean, don't be an asshole about it. Don't shove a bottle up the bottle's ass.
I'm a PETA board member, so you
let me just say,
struck on the last thing that I'm ever going to agree with you.
I'm just saying, if you have a shampoo company, and let's say you have a lizard, it doesn't have to be then put a couple of drops of shampoo in his eyes, and if the lizard dies, let's come up with another shampoo. That's all. It doesn't have to be.
I can hate you and the joke that you made, and also appreciate that is a good joke.
Okay.
I can do both, because I have a bicameral mind.
Well, that's good. That's the problem.
Yes.
We're so polarized, as you talked about. With Jay, with Jay, we thought you polarized. The other thing is, it's like, you can't even, and then he comes down here. Those are his two moves, Jay's guy. I'm up here, and then you go down here, and you come back up here.
I used to love his segues on the Tonight Show, like they'd be talking, about the sitcom or whatever, then, and here you collect toy trains. It's like, what?
I remember, being on the show, Catherine Ross finally, after, my 5th appearance on there, whatever, with Jay, she said, stop waiting for Jay, just keep going. And that was the best advice.
Well, but Jay Leno is one of the greatest people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't understand this animosity.
No, because it just happens.
And I hate
there's jealousy. Could you believe there's jealousy in stand-up? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I guess in, not stand-up, but in getting the Crown Plum talk show. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And, I don't know why Jimmy and Conan, who I both am so fond of, I don't want to be in the middle of this, but, I just don't know why they seem to hate him so
I know,
much.
but it is
he's
like
such
a car
great
crash.
guy.
There's not one person that Jay hasn't helped. I mean, literally, I drove him. One of my first things I ever did, in the early 80s, I had a manager, of course, and he said, you're going to pick up Jay Leno. You're going to know, the San Francisco like the back of your hand. You take the Thomas Guide. That was the thing.
I remember.
You take him, and you take the Thomas Guide. You have a sign at the airport. You pick up Jay, and then you take him to the radio show. Then you take him to the club, and then whatever Mr. Leno needs. And so I did it.
What year is this?
This is 1983, 84.
Perfect.
I think that was just when he was doing hey, on the Letterman show. Hey, let me tell you, what's your beef, Jay? Hey, let me tell you my beef. I'll tell you one thing right now. I got a beef, Jay. Let me tell you, Dave. And he would murder. He would murder.
Absolutely. Nobody ever did talk show spots quite like Rodney.
He had material.
Rodney did, but Rodney would just do another 6 minutes. Johnny would say nothing, and they'd make a joke about that.
Right.
But Leno killed in that. That's what got him the Tonight Show.
Oh, yeah. Well, he took that as the opportunity that it was. And a lot of people come on there and try to be smart, whatever.
Yeah.
He said, this is my 4 minutes, and I'm going to murder.
I'm going to
go to commercial and come back for 2.
Yes.
And he did. But, he was a guy, I remember, he was so nice, and he said, so, you know any good Chinese restaurants in San Francisco? You know, I said, yes, Mr. Leno, because I was a San Francisco kid. My mom's Filipino. We went every Sunday. We went to this place, not to the fancy place, but we used to drive by the fancy place where the politicians would go. And they go, my dad would go, that's the place the fancy people go. This food's just as good. We're going to go, it's just as good. Chinese food, it's even better. Let me tell you what, it's not as fancy. We're not fancy, you know. My dad always considered the Temple, like, it's a fashion show. We don't need to go to Temple. It's a fashion show. And so we went to I said, Mr. Leno, that's the best place. And he says, hey, you know, come on in. We're going to come in. I don't eat by myself. We don't eat by... And he finally said, so are you a comedian? And I said, yes, Mr. Leno. And he said to me, how much time you got? And I said, about 8 minutes. He said, good. You know, most people I ask how much time you got. I got 6 hours. I can do 6 hours. I got 2 hours of clean, 2 hours of dirty. I got... And I was like, you know, I said, who would need to hear 6 hours of comedy material? You either have 20 minutes that kills every time, everywhere you go. You got nothing. Right. That's all you need. You got to have 5 minutes that kills every time, everywhere you go, or you have nothing. And I said, and you don't need 20 minutes to become a star. And truthfully, I worked after that lunch with him. I worked my ass off to get 5 minutes. And a couple of years later, I got on Letterman doing that 5 minutes. And truthfully, like me, Spade, Rock, Sandler, never had more than 20 minutes.
And the thing also about Jay is he would always bend over backwards if there was some sort of a beef to try to end it. Like people would fuck him over and he would call them.
I know.
And I just don't understand where
I was having a problem at NBC and he took me aside and he said, listen, kid. I was doing Men Behaving Badly, and I literally was out of my fucking mind. I've been in therapy now, dealing with stuff I should have dealt with 20 years ago. I'd be able to buy a place like you have too.
Like what?
No, but I had a problem with an NBC, because I hated doing the sitcom. It was called Men Behaving Badly. I
remember.
I fucking hated the fact that we have all these episodes from England. They're hilarious. Let's just do those. And they promised me they'd do that. And they took them over here and they watered them down. And I listened to to Warren Littlefield, who promised me, we're going to make it just as funny, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, so I was performing with a shirt that said performing under protest. You know, all the people were the writers laughing at their own shit. And then Jay said, hey, listen. You got to figure out a way to make this thing work for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't think they can get another Jay Leno? They get another Jay Leno tomorrow. You don't think they get another Tom Cruise? They get another Tom Cruise in a week. Or maybe 2 weeks because it's Tom fucking Cruise. But everybody else, so you got to find a way. And I was like, just to him to take the time.
Yeah. No,
of course, I didn't listen to him. But if he were just taking the time, I mean, he was just the greatest.
I want to know about these things that you could have paid a house for in therapy.
Oh, yeah. No. I pissed off I fucked up so badly.
What do you mean?
No, I just what happened was.
What did you fuck up?
I didn't realize.
You're a household name.
Oh, thank you. But no, I shouldn't.
But I mean, when you think about all the people you started with, I mean, I always think about it like the military. We went into battle with 1,000 guys, and a lot of them are dead.
Yeah.
Not dead really, although some of that too. But just dead, and they never. And you're Rob Schneider. I mean,
God bless you.
Can
There's another thing Jay Leno told me. He said, I get these guys call me up. He say, hey, I'm sorry I'm doing Jay, but I just listened to your podcast.
You're very funny.
He said, well,
I can do it too. You're not the only one. I can do it too.
These guys call me up and they said, hey, listen, Jay, can you put me on for 5 minutes? And I said, how is it going to help you? He said, it's like you're 40 years old, you only got 5 minutes, you haven't written a new act, and now you're fat. So, but what happened to me, which I'm realizing now through fucking therapy that I can finally afford and have the time to do.
So you do go to therapy? I
do now, yeah. Was that I was raised by people who were very wounded.
I was raised by people too.
It's amazing how that works. No, my parents, my mother, half her family were killed by the Japanese in World War II. And so really? I can't travel without food with me. And it took this,
Wait, who was killed by the Japanese?
Both my uncles.
Both?
One was beheaded. And the other one died in the Bataan Death March at 17.
Your mother's Japanese?
My mother's Filipino.
A Filipino. And the Japanese invaded the Philippines.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe you heard about that. First of all, Pearl Harbor started the whole thing.
Don't trust anyone under 40 to understand even what century World War II happened in.
I know, it is really...
So if we want to get the full audience here, I mean, kids, World War II, it happened after the Middle Ages.
Yes.
Okay. It was the one with Hitler.
Before Bieber.
Yes, I think what kids don't understand about World War II is they don't get why Hitler and Japan were sort of on the same side.
Yes.
And quite frankly, neither do I.
You know, I know. It was just, it was
and I'm a student of this.
It was very club random at the time.
It was so random. It was like, wait, I'm evil and you're evil, so we're just going to be evil together. But really...
But the plan was, just like when Hitler with Ribbentrop, you know, it was just like, we're going to, you know, look, we'll kill you eventually, but right now, let's just take out the Poles and get this thing started.
Well, let's back up to the kids who don't know who von Ribbentrop is. Okay. So the Nazis and the Soviet Union made a pact. In 1940. Yeah. The von Ribbentrop Pact, and they decided to cut Poland right in half.
And as a matter of fact, that's all that Stalin wanted after World War II.
He wanted half of Poland, and Germany got the other half.
During the Malta times, when you had Churchill. And what was left of Roosevelt at the time, which is basically where Biden is now, what was left of Roosevelt, and you had, and then all that Stalin was there was like, I just want the same amount of Poland that Hitler gave me, and then what a surprise I got! Who knew I was going to get Czechoslovakia, Hungary? It was so, and half of Germany. Forget about it. Okay. What a day!
So, anyway, you were killed by the Japanese. No, not you. Your mother's brothers.
Yeah, my mother's
were Filipino. The Japanese invade in 1941 or
42.
42.
January 42.
Right.
And they came in.
This is, people might remember Douglas MacArthur saying, I will return.
He will return. And they did 2 takes when he came off the boat. Because the first one, he came right off and sunk right down.
The newsreel.
Yes.
The newsreel, right. He walked off the landing ship and he went right in the drink. And then he said, we got to do it again. We're losing the light. And also, I think I have another one in me. I want to try a few things.
Yeah, let me just, first of all, this is my better side. Can somebody light my fucking cigar? Jesus Christ. Or his pipe or whatever. I think it was a pipe. But no, so anyway, so that's...
I'm going to improvise.
So that's what, that's kind of like on my mother's side. And then on my father's side, my father was also very melancholy. His father committed suicide. So I'm raised from and blamed my grandfather.
Your grandfather?
My grandfather, who came over from the old days. It was one of those things where you found out he was like 3 years older than he was when he was like,
And where did he come from?
He came over from, it was Prussia at that time.
Prussia. Sure.
Yeah.
Prussia is part of, it's Eastern Germany. It's where Berlin is.
Yes.
Berlin is in Prussia. Prussia was a country of its own in the 19th century before Germany was united. Not that I have to tell you kids. Go to class!
Tarnopol was where he was from. And he came over and he didn't realize, and this is a guy who could barely read and write, but he can read the newspaper and he would do it. And so he had literally a barber shop. He cut hair right next to the Fox Theater on 7th Street in San Francisco, right off Market Street, and had a good life for himself. And then when he retired, he didn't realize that, he realized he went to the bank and realized there was nothing in there. He didn't understand that my mother, Molly Hoffman Schneider, had taken that money and invested it in real estate, and some other had a little jewelry store. So he just thought they were broke and got really depressed. Like, I did all this for that? And then he went to my dad's, and then he said, I can't live with your mother. She blew all our money, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, look, I'll be right back. Just hang out. And then my dad came back, and then my grandfather had offed himself. I hate to bring the show to a screeching halt.
So how did the Japanese get to Prussia?
So the Japanese came in. By the way, the Japanese, whenever you invade someplace, you are the liberators.
But why?
They were pissed off at the Filipinos because you're fellow Asians, and we're liberating you from these asshole Americans.
I mean, we invaded Iraq in 2003, and we said we were liberators. They didn't see it that way.
They didn't. It's funny how that works.
No. I mean,
conquers.
Right. I mean, it's the
those
liberation.
Goddamn Romans.
I mean, whereas the Austrians pretended that Hitler conquered them, but really, when Hitler marched into Vienna, it was not exactly. It was not exactly the disastrous day that they would like to present.
You don't bring during an invasion.
I've seen the film.
You don't throw flowers at the tanks when they're coming in and say these are the bad guys.
Okay.
So you have that. That's kind of the...
So, but here's my real question. Like, so all this bad shit happened in your past, I mean, your family's past.
Yeah, so, but
what do you give a fuck?
What do I give a fuck? No, the truth
why
of the matter
is this affecting you today?
Because
you're a celebrity who lives in Hollywood.
I know. Well, no.
You have
I moved to Arizona.
And a coat.
I moved to Arizona. I couldn't take this fucking... I don't know how you guys do it. How much more can California take? It's like you got homeless people on the lawn. Do you have to have them move into your house, finger your wife? At what point do you say, I'm fucking out of here?
Well, that's why I never got married. It's because the thought of homeless people fingering my wife would have just driven me up the wall.
First of all, maybe I'm looking at this all wrong. Maybe
no.
It's not. No, the homeless, we're either having a huge homeless problem or a gigantic camping success story. We have to look at it both ways. You know what I'm saying? The tent companies are killing it right now, Bill.
I know. I drive through this town, and like, especially when I'm out of town, coming back from the airport, I always go with this route through Burbank Airport and then
through Calcutta.
The underpass looks like Woodstock '99.
I know. It's the ACLU that did it. The ACLU.
Well,
they fucked. Well, basically, the cities capitulated to the lawsuits, and they said, "We don't want it. We don't have the money. We're not going to fight this fact." And so then you couldn't kick them out anymore, and so that's what happened.
A common theme of mine.
Yes.
Besides marijuana use.
I'll have a hit.
Is, oh, really?
Yeah, why not?
Tell me.
Let's mix it up, baby. Come on. Yeah. Hey, you're all right. You're okay. I mean, the first time I met Rodney. Hey, I got a couple of girls and some blow. You want to hang out? Come on, man. I smoke every day. The only reason I'm still alive.
Let's do Rodney and Leno together. Yeah, well, Rodney, why don't you pass the blow a little, I guess? You know, there's a guy over here with a schnoz that would like a little...
Hey, let me tell you, get your own shit. You know what I'm saying, pal?
Yeah,
this stuff's expensive.
This guy, I got thought of energy. I think I'm going to write another monologue. Okay, but...
I love Jay, but Jay did get to the point where he was... the monologues were 25 minutes, the interviews were 30 seconds.
But he's an amazing monologue writer.
No,
I mean, he's an amazing joke writer. I mean...
Every bit he had, when I opened for him, me and Dana Carvey, the great legend Dana Carvey, the most talented guy to ever come out of San Francisco. This guy, we both opened for him in like the mid-'80s. And then at the Palace of Fine Arts, like one of those New Year's crazy shows where you'd make like $1,000 if you were an opening. It's like, geez, that was crazy. Right. And then Jay Leno would come in and whatever. We'd have our killer bits we couldn't wait to get to. And then every joke that Jay Leno had was killer.
Exactly.
And then
he also knew how to get into it in like 3 seconds, which I was so jealous of, because when you're an unknown, it's so hard to like break the ice, warm up the crowd. I always hated it. And oh God, it's going to take 5 minutes before they're like, who's this fucking guy?
Yes.
Whereas Jay Leno was always like, I think the one I said it to him when he was here was like, hey, you see the paper? You see the and he's already like home almost, you know. I see Buddy Epps in this, and Muhammad Ali's going to come out of retirement. He's fighting Buddy Epps.
But he is like a ninja in that way, where like, you know, you have these guys, they have their moves and they've been doing it so long, and they just become impenetrable after a while. And he was one of those guys.
What were we talking about? I always forget what we're talking about, but it was something I was very interested in. Something with you and the Japanese.
With the Japanese and the war. What happened? Gabor Mate told me this. Dr. Gabor Mate.
No, why is it still affecting your psyche?
Because what happened is that does transfer from the parent to the kid. And I didn't realize that. Because I said I always travel with food. It's because my mom starved during the war.
Okay.
And so that
Your mom starved during the war?
Yeah.
That's
the thing, like, whatever problems we're having in the United States, people don't realize. But they don't realize that this really isn't. These problems that we have, like this isn't a civil war. We are not in a civil war.
But we may be very soon.
Well, if the Democrats continue to try to imprison people, then there's nothing separating us from like some Guatemalan thing.
Well, I mean, if someone broke the law plainly, like trying to undo a fair election, they deserve to be in prison.
Well, let's go back to Nixon, the last progressive president we ever had. Nixon put in the EPA.
Of course, I know all this.
Okay, Title
I wouldn't. Yeah.
So Nixon.
Yeah, progressive compared to today, for sure.
What had to happen was that it was true. Ford sacrificed his own political career and his own presidency by saying, we got to stop this shit and stop this attack and move on. And like Nixon himself, when it was very obvious, as soon as they lost the presidential election in 1960, Nixon and his his advisors were like, we can fight this. We know that they cheated in Chicago, that dead people were voting. And he said the transfer of power is more important. And
exactly.
That is the key.
Okay, exactly. That is the key. That's why, yes, Nixon made a sacrifice in 1960. Al Gore, 40 years later, made the same sacrifice. Because it was
he did.
Absolutely. Okay. And let's not even talk about Tilden. Tilden? Because I'm still pissed about Tilden.
Okay.
You know who Tilden is?
Oh, I'm blanking on it.
1876, my friend.
Oh, yes, sorry.
It's the first time the guy did not get the presidency after winning the popular vote.
Okay, right. Okay.
Tilden!
All right. However,
God damn it.
But you look at President Johnson after Lincoln. Let's go back. Now, this guy, he wanted to follow through with what Lincoln wanted, which was to not penalize the South. And they crucified him. And it was the Northerners who did want to penalize them.
I'd have to look at that history again.
And they impeached him. And he saved it by one vote. There was one vote that prevented him from losing the presidency.
We are supported by Signalwire. Have you checked out the sci-fi show Westworld on my favorite network, HBO? They present a picture of the future where technology would make unprecedented communication experiences possible, like robots that are indistinguishable from humans. They look, talk, and act just like anyone else, or as I like to call them, senators. Well, it's 2022. The future is here. But our current tech is a pretty far cry from what real-time communications could be. That's where Signalwire comes in. Signalwire is an advanced cloud platform for building next-gen communication experiences. Tired of Zoom? So is literally everybody. Zoom is so slow that I'm shocked it even caught Jeffrey Toobin masturbating. With Signalwire, you can create your own video communication product with far better audio and video quality that actually uses less bandwidth and doesn't slow down your users' devices. And with Signalwire, you can completely customize the user experience and integrate it within an existing application or website with ease. Most importantly, you don't have to be a genius to figure it out. Whether you're a developer, product builder, or just someone with a cool idea, Signalwire offers APIs, SDKs, and even copy and paste code snippets to help make your vision a reality. Fast. Visit signalwire.com/random to sign up for a free account and get an additional 5,000 video minutes for testing. Go to signalwire.com/random and build what's next in real-time communications. Go to signalwire.com/random. These are Clove cigarettes, by the way.
Are they?
Yeah, here. Step up to the cool, refreshing taste of...
But I will say that, I mean, I feel like I was dumber than all the guys, all the smart people at SNL. But at least I had some semblance of history that I can understand. Some basic...
Yes. Well, then you should understand how unprecedented it is what Trump has tried to do. And it is exactly what you're talking about. The peaceful transfer of power is the jewel in our crown as a democracy.
That's what separates us.
It is. It's so many countries in the world have not been able to get this right. The idea that we would have elections and then go, okay, I hate your fucking guts, but you know what? I'm going to paste on a smile and I'm going to walk over to the White House. I'm going to invite you to the White House, even though I lost, and I'm giving up this great palace because that was genius.
Well, that's what
that is what Trump has fucking broken and thrown to the floor.
Well, I will say that he seems to have narcissistic tendencies. I'm not 100% sure.
Seems to have.
Well, let me just tell you, though.
I mean,
George, let's go back because there's been an ugliness throughout our history.
There has, but a difference in degree is not a difference in kind. This is a difference in kind. The guy who says on tape, you have to find me 11,000 votes. That guy has to go has to go to jail. The guy who says, just send electors who are fake to January 6th, that guy has to be in jail. The guy who says, sir, they're going to hang Mike Pence. Good, he deserves it. That guy has got to go to jail.
Well, this is also...
I know it's troublesome.
You can't... What I believe we should do, first of all, also Representative Lewis, okay, who is a...
John Lewis?
Yes. This guy is a civil rights hero.
Icon.
This is a guy who got beaten. This is a guy who stood up. But at the same time, when Trump became president, it was a travesty to not accept him as president. That was that set a.
They never accept anybody. They didn't accept Obama.
But that's one thing to say.
Accepting someone is not the same thing as contesting the election.
It is because it's telling people who are not as smart as you. Yes, they have. But that is different to go publicly and say that I do not accept him as this, and to start this whole bullshit of this whole Russian collusion thing, which is bull. But let me just say this: the thing about power,
that's not
what
bullshit
makes
either. But okay.
Well, the thing about power and what makes a great leader is people who step away from the power. When George Washington was asked, "Would you like to be king?"
Great, Rob. Listen to yourself. People who have the dignity to step away from the power, like George Washington.
Yes.
Gosh. Who can I think of who doesn't have that exact quality of being able to step away from the power?
Yes, well, that is a detriment.
Who? God damn it, I can't think right now.
Detriment to his...
Somebody recently, I know it's recent, I can't think of the name.
That is a detriment to his legacy of a great real estate
man. Oh, okay. But let's talk about your psychological issues. See if we can.
Dr. Gabor Mate.
See if by the end of this
you should read the book.
We can connect your psychological issues and get you back to not thinking.
Well, I will say this. The point. I mean, I am always going to take. I'm high right now. I'm always going to take the position of the underdog, no matter what. And the people in power, which happens to be.
Well, that's silly.
No.
Not always. I mean, son, what if the underdog is wrong?
Well, I'm not talking about, but I'm saying like the people in power, the people that are not in power, I think it's important to attack what is in power. And like the difference is, here's my problem with the way it is, both Democrats and Republicans. It's very simple. This goes back to like Noam Chomsky, which he says this. Noam Chomsky's right about a lot of stuff. He was a little crazy about this, putting people in prisons who were, who were unvaccinated.
Yeah.
That was
very
lunacy.
Far left.
He's very lunacy. However, he did say like Americans are allowed to discuss very vociferously, very, very angrily, and they can have incredible arguments about a small number of issues.
I agree.
But you don't have them arguing about stuff that's of like foreign policy and like wars.
They're
and
just
like
not interested. And they're not knowledgeable enough to even have the discussion. That's the problem, really.
That is a problem.
Really. I mean, they're not like us with the von Ribbentrop Treaty.
Yeah.
I mean...
I got 2 more of those up my sleeve.
Can you see Jay Leno and Rodney talking about that?
Hey, it's Robert Ribbentrop. Let me tell this guy. That guy did not know how to wear a suit. You know what I'm saying?
I tell you, that Stalin is quite a dictator, isn't he? This guy really... he likes being adored. I tell you, at the parade the other day.
Kept looking the wrong way. They're coming from the left to the right. This guy's looking from the right to the left, this guy. But I do think that there's always been this ugliness in politics, but I just don't think it's become to the level of entertainment.
Yes. Trying to steal an election, no. Not conceding an election that you absolutely lost, that every court that you threw your ridiculous shit against said you lost. Republican secretaries of state who counted the votes said you lost. This is different. This is not ugliness, Rob, in politics. Yes, there's always ugliness everywhere. This is a whole different kettle of fish. I don't get it, where you guys who are, you're so sane, I think, on so many other things where you confront wokeness in the same way I do.
Yeah.
But I don't know what this affection you boys have for Donald Trump is.
No, it's not necessarily
that. But it goes past rationality, and you should check yourself on that with your psychiatrist, because it must go back to the fucking Philippine invasion.
I'm sure that there's something in there. First of all, I'm one of the few people. I'm the only person you're ever going to meet who made a movie with Donald Trump. First of all, let me just say that right now. He owned the Home Alone 2. He owned the hotel. And eventually we knew we were going to have to put him in the movie.
I made a movie with a Donald Trump lookalike. A Donald Trump lookalike.
Yeah? What was that?
Pizza Man. In 1990, it was made on a budget of $500,000. I was the pizza man. And it was all about how this pizza man was trying to get his $15.23 for the pizza. And he uncovers this web of crime, and it leads to all these lookalikes. Michael Dukakis, anyone who, and the big villain at the end is Donald Trump. We forget that he was like famous. I did
People didn't hate him in New York at that time. I was at a party with Alec Baldwin and him at the SNL for it.
Of course.
And it was like, and everybody seemed to be getting along.
Oh, yeah.
The thing about is like, here's what needs to happen. We cannot have, I mean, here's what I think would be a better idea. Because people, the scrutiny that you must go through to become president or to run for high office in this is unbelievable. So I think you just take the most talented guys that there is, and it's like a sentence. You got to do this for 4 years, and we got to pick between those guys, and they have no way out. So you have to choose. Well, Elon Musk can't win, but he's from South Africa.
I'm a big fan of him.
But yeah, but I'm saying though, you do have, just the way I believe about the presidential thing and the whole thing is, if you want to be president, that should automatically disqualify you from running for that office.
But that's a catch-22 that we could never get around.
We can't, but why do we need these leaders all the time? I am against what's happening, which is a consolidation of, no, here's my problem. I'm not a Trump supporter. You have to know that right now. I think he has, I think at the end of the day, he was, what I want to have is a fractured government and not having the powers of the executive branch, the executive branch running everything, which is what's happening now. You can't just make 125. You should have it's just like in football or baseball now. You get 2 referees, you throw the flag, and then that's the one you get. That's your executive order. You get 2 per year, and you can't have 125.
Now, why did you rise in your chair to make that point? I mean, that seems like especially.
I just want to be. It was just like the attack on the
I love the glasses around it. What do you think of some reading here during the show?
I can't see shit.
This is a nightclub.
I'm fucking old.
This is Club Random.
I'm fucking old.
You're not going to need glasses here.
Okay, all right.
In fact, it's probably better if you don't see a lot of the stuff.
I'm old. I'm old.
You saw the dolphin thing?
No, let me put the glasses on and take a look.
You and I...
Holy shit, I do remember that.
You and I did a sketch
San Francisco.
2000.
Yes.
On Politically Incorrect.
That's right.
Because the big story in the day was Elian Gonzalez.
I remember.
Cuban boy who washed on shore.
Yeah.
I mean, if people don't remember, and I'm sure the young ones, you don't have any reason to know this, but...
This would not be a story today. No one would give a shit.
Oh, I think they would.
You think they would?
A Cuban kid? Okay, if people don't remember,
yeah.
I mean, people have been trying to get out of Cuba for the longest time because I think we would agree communism is evil.
Yes.
I've always said Ronald Reagan never was more truthful than when he said it's an evil empire. Communism is horrible.
Yeah.
So
soulless.
Any of you kids who think it might be worth another try, read something about it. Okay. So this kid, Elian Gonzalez, and his mother left Cuba, trying to make the 90 miles to Miami on a raft, on a rubber tire. The mother dies on the trip. Elian washes up on shore. He has relatives there who take him in like an uncle.
Yeah.
They were a little bit of a sketchy family. And it became one of the first examples of partisanship, where, no, we're just not going to care about anything but what team we're on. Because the Republicans, who were always like the family value people, they were like, no, Cuba is evil, which it was, the government. So he should stay here because this is America, and America is the best place. And the Democrats were like, no, he should be with his father. He still has a father in Cuba.
Yeah.
And it turned out that was the right thing. I mean, Cuba is a troubled place, but it was better to be with the family who, okay.
But that was a very tough call for people.
So
People are so politicized. When you have family members murdered by Castro, and you're in South Florida, and then the idea, I mean, it just brings up these hot button things.
But do you remember sitting on my lap? Because I was the dolphin that you rode to America on, and you were Elian Gonzalez.
That's right. I had the T-shirt. Yes, I know that was 20 years ago.
Can you believe we were ever that young?
Can you believe that no one complained about the sketch either?
Why would they?
Because I'm just saying everybody complains about everything now.
And you were playing someone who was not
exactly
what you are.
I could have done the whole thing, but I didn't do it. How ballsy was Pacino's just taking that choice? I'm going to do this for the whole movie, for Scarface, and I'm going to commit to it like a mom.
Because you have to see that movie, Scarface, as a black comedy. Right? It's very similar, in my view, to Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
Apocalypse Now, which, a great Vietnam movie, but it's not like Platoon. The tone is completely different. It's a black comedy.
Yes, Kubrick's movie too.
If you watch it to a degree, yes.
Yeah. If you see Kubrick's
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket.
Amazing.
If you see it as a comedy, you will get more out of it.
Me so horny.
Yeah.
Me so
He's so horny. I show you good time.
And then that got into a song. Remember that?
No.
By Two Live Crew. You remember Two Live Crew?
Yeah, I remember Two Live Crew.
First rap I ever bought.
That's when I knew I'd made it, when Jay-Z put me in a song. Jay-Z put me in a song back in like 2000 or whatever.
Jay-Z?
Yeah, and it was something like a Deuce Bigelow, and I went like, holy shit. Oh. That movie's like, holy fuck, that must have made.
Oh, that one holds up.
Thank you. They wouldn't let me do that again.
You know,
I like that. Like Amy Poehler's embarrassed that she was ever in it because they would never have that where someone has. Or Disney made that movie where someone has Tourette syndrome.
Who's embarrassed?
Amy Poehler.
She's embarrassed about what?
Being in it. That was her first movie role before she got Saturday Night Live. I don't know. She never talks about it. That's her first role she ever had.
How do you know she's embarrassed by it?
Because I was so funny. It was one of those fucking things where, just flipping the late night channels. You don't think you're going to get a public fuck you from anybody.
Oh,
and I was watching it. And two of the girls, Gail O'Grady and Amy Poehler, and they're playing celebrity poker. And I go, oh, they were both in Deuce Bigelow. And they announced what their credits were, and none of them said my movie. I went, fuck. Why do I watch TV?
So listen to this. 2 times within 1 month, this happened to me. I'm in bed, like at night. And when I watch TV at the end of the day, you're not supposed to because your eyes, you wear blue. Well, no, I mean, you should wear blue blockers because like the light is telling your body, stay up! And you're trying to go to sleep. But that's what I want to do at the end of the day. It's the most passive thing. I don't want to read. I already read a lot, okay? I want to watch TV. So, I'm in bed. I'm ready to go to sleep. I was watching this show on Showtime. It was about Uber and the founding of Uber called Super Pumped. Have you heard of it or seen it?
No, but I've taken an Uber.
All right, it was with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who was terrific, and I was especially interested. It was an interesting subject because I know Travis Kalanick, whatever his name is, who was the Uber founder. He had a very dramatic rise and fall. They threw him out of his own company, He was very brash and brilliant, but brash, blah, blah, blah. So I'm watching this, and also I knew, from reading the reviews, that there was a part in there because Arianna Huffington, one of my dearest friends for 30 years, had a part because she was on the board of Uber. She came in at a certain point as kind of one of their saviors. So I was like, oh, and Uma Thurman is playing Arianna Huffington. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I can't wait to see somebody play Arianna. And so I'm waiting, and she doesn't make an appearance till like the 4th episode. And when she does, her first line is, she goes up to Travis. He's had a bad day, and she's going, Travis, the bad boy of Silicon Valley. And he's like, please, Arianna, I had a bad day. She says, oh, don't worry about it. I've had to have lunch with Bill Maher and Pat Buchanan. Like, had to have lunch? Like, you think one of my best friends in the world would say that? But like when you're sitting in bed, ready to go to sleep, and you're like, oh, I just want to drift off, and then like, you are an asshole. Oh, wait, I'll be up for another 2 hours.
It's so funny because like I remember when it was the guys from South Park did an episode, which was very funny. And I have to say, my friend from The Simpsons, Matt Selman, said they could have been way meaner. But they were like, I was like with the 3rd movie that I'd done. Rob Schneider is an animal. Rob Schneider is a male prostitute. Rob Schneider is a girl, whatever the fuck. So they said, Rob Schneider is a stapler. Rob Schneider is a carrot, because sometimes a carrot has, and it was very funny. And my friend, like Matt Selman from The Simpsons, a genius writer, he said they could have been meaner, But I just remember like how people wanted that to hurt you. They's like, I did that. You see,
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They wanted to.
Absolutely.
Did it make it? Did it bleed? Did it cut you?
Exactly.
No,
I know. No, and those guys. Look, there is no bigger fan in the world of their movie that they did with the puppets.
Oh my God. A Team America?
Team America.
Team America is one of the greatest comedies ever made.
It is really one of the greatest.
It is brilliant on every level, and I have to give it up to those guys. And the fact that that's not the biggest movie makes me so fucking angry at the public.
I don't really ever watch South Park, because I'm loyal to my boyfriend, Seth MacFarlane, and that's Pepsi
You're
and Coke.
A good man.
Exactly. And I love my Family Guy. I know people love it, and I'm sure it's very clever, and they're clever, and that movie is just genius. I could watch it every day.
Incredible.
But
will you ask Seth MacFarlane why he fucking put some? I get these fucking every once in a while some social media thing with like Rob Schneider strangles migrant farm workers in the shower, and Seth did that on Family Guy one episode. That's one of those things.
What does that even mean?
I don't understand, but please ask Seth. But the whole point is like,
you're strangling farm workers in the shower? But I don't get what the joke is.
I will tell you, it's something in one of their episodes, and it's enough where like I've heard it so many times from people coming up to me. It's just one of those things. I'm just in pop culture enough where people can go, well, that guy, but you're not safe to go after.
But not strangling migrants. I mean, I want to know what the connection.
I don't understand. I don't know it, but it's just one of those things. Like you have to just like.
Okay, so anyway, here's my end of my story about the South Park guys.
Okay, yeah.
So I was thinking about watching that show at one point, and then I read it. They're doing a Playboy interview, and like one of them says something like. Kind of out of the blue. I mean, whatever. I don't remember what the question was, but they're talking about their personal life. And he was like, well, I don't want to be in my 40s like Bill Maher and still going to the Playboy Mansion. And I just remember thinking, trust me, asshole, when you're in your 40s.
You're going to wish you were there. You're going to fucking wish you were there. As a matter of fact, one of the last...
people should know, when you take gratuitous shots...
Yeah.
People in show business are sensitive. We all are.
I know.
And I'm sure I've done it to people. Oh, yeah, but when you do it, they notice. And it's not like there's not a ripple in that pond that goes out. It's not like it doesn't happen. And
it's just, but the fact of the matter is we have to like we're super hypersensitive and we shouldn't be. Two guys, I'm doing a fucking show after this.
We wouldn't be in this business.
I know. You have to have the hypersensitivity and a huge ego. You got to have both. It's got to be low self-esteem and a fucking giant ego for no reason to back it up.
We're not normal.
We're not. But like tonight, after here, I got to go do a show on Melrose with two people who fucking I know hate me. You know, Patton Oswalt and this other comedian. But they wrote a book, and both the books they shit on me. And it's like, you know what? Who I hate is not those guys as much as the friends who tell you. Did you read that in the book? You know that friend who tells you.
Okay, wait a second. What is the show, and why do you have to do this?
I don't know, because Adam Carolla reached out to me. Adam Carolla reached out. We do this gig for me. It's going to be on Melrose, and I said, "Yeah, you're coming in."
What gig on Melrose?
It's at the Improv. Just come to a set, and I said, "Absolutely, I'm in town."
I can't make me understand
Adam Carolla.
I understand who Adam Carolla is. I know where Melrose is.
I got a movie coming out called Daddy-Daughter Trip, and I'm doing press. I never do press anymore because I don't give a shit about it.
Why are you burying the lead about plugging something? You're on something that people are going to hear. You're like trying to hide it. Okay, I got a movie coming out.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm doing this. So
you got a movie coming out called
Adam Carolla. He called me up and he said,
"What is the name of the movie?"
Daddy-Daughter Trip.
Okay, where is this?
It's the only movie. My wife won't let my kids see.
Where is this movie on?
It's going to be just playing in Arizona to start.
Oh, it's a theater movie.
It's a theater movie, yeah. And then it's going to go out otherwise.
So you're doing this thing on Melrose to plug it?
Well, I'm going. I went on Adam today.
Okay.
Adam Carolla's show.
Love Adam.
And then I'm then coming to yours, and I'm doing some promotion to promote the movie coming up. Oh. And so he said, "You come down and do a set." I didn't know it was going to be like Patton Oswalt and these other people, Sarah Silverman, and I love Sarah, but like it was just a weird.
You're with some super woke comedians.
Yeah. And I don't need that shit,
sweetheart. I don't either, and I love Sarah. I don't know Patton that well, but Patton and I, he came after me once.
Yeah.
And then I saw him at a dinner. We patched it up. It was nice. He
shit on me in his book.
Yeah, he shit on me once on Twitter.
But like at this, and it's like the thing about it is like he shouldn't. But
well, he should stop. Like so many of the people in show business, stop being indoctrinated. You know what? There's liberalism, and then a lot of you are just fucking indoctrinated.
Yes, and what a pussy this guy is. Let me tell you about Patton Oswalt. Here's the thing that bothers me. Talk about whatever you want, and like I get it, and he's brilliant, blah blah blah. But he fucking took a picture with Dave Chappelle and fucking apologized for it. That is a pussy.
Shit I hate.
What a fucking pussy. I've never apologized for a fucking joke in my life, and believe me, when I did the Netflix special I did last time, they cut 15 minutes out. 15 fucking minutes.
Wait, you have a Netflix special?
It came out, well, thank you. It came out 2 years ago during the pandemic.
Okay, I probably saw it, but 2 years ago.
2 years ago, but I'm saying though, they cut the stuff out, you know, and it's a God bless them. They got their thing, but like there's some stuff that I wish they wouldn't have. But that's like.
Well, I must say.
I'm not bitter, you can tell.
I must say, they didn't do a very good job of promoting it.
They didn't.
Because I would have watched it. if I knew you had a special,
oh, thank you.
I would totally be there.
Well, thank
the only
you.
reason I didn't see that is because I never knew about it.
Well,
and that's not really on you.
Well, I think that they just
they
get
have
so
a lot
big.
of content.
They get so big, they push their big guys.
Yes,
Chappelle.
of course.
But I mean, the stuff that they cut out was the stuff that Chappelle did in his, which is the same subject matter. I mean, I'm not taking away from Chappelle. He's a genius. He's the, of that generation, the best comedian for sure. He came after us.
And you really believe that, or do you just have to say that?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of his, but I also think people just, at some point, people just line up behind an opinion because it is the correct opinion.
I think, well, I will say,
there's a number of comedians who I think are great, including myself.
Yes, absolutely.
I just did a special.
Your last special was great.
Thank you.
And the thing about it was, like,
and that's why
you say opinions. That's what I love about it, because, like, you're one of the few guys who will say an opinion that is contrary against the fucking mob.
Yes.
And you have to do that. And that's why, like, my act and what I'm doing now is contrary to the opinion. And I don't mind being conservative because I'm not a conservative. I'm fucking traditional liberalism, but traditional liberalism gets fucking shoved into a corner, and they call us right wingers.
It's very
fucking not.
Very hard to put labels on things. We won't go back into the Trump thing. To me, that's a bridge too far. But there's lots of things you and I hold hands on. There's lots of things where we are cousins.
Well, here's what happened with it. Like, absolutely. I mean, like,
cousins in a meadow?
It was me. I'm going to move up again to physically be intimidating.
All right.
Here's the thing. Hey, Bill, it's like this. It's like traditional liberalism. It's like, I'm for fucking free speech.
Guys who do that with the knee, like this is going to really drive. I know you don't agree with it, but this is going to really drive home the point if I touch your knee. Right there. That's my point.
And so you have traditional liberalism, and what happened, in my opinion, was they have no fucking place else to go, so they kept going anyway. It's like the gay rights needed to happen, for sure. It's the civil rights of the fucking 70s and 80s.
Right.
Gay people need to have the right to adopt children if they want to and have a family, and they should get health fucking insurance.
Of course.
They need to if they want to be just as miserable as me, as the old joke goes, get married.
Yes.
I'm all for it. But what happened was they went to go live their life in improved neighborhoods so that we could move into it after it gets improved.
Right.
They can risk their lives, build up that neighborhood, and then all of a sudden it's an arty area now that used to be a poor area.
Right.
And then what happened was they left to go live their lives in the freest fucking country in the history of the world, and they left the door open, and the crazy gay people snuck in, and for different rights that actually aren't a problem. There aren't, and I hate to say.
I don't know if it was other gay people.
No. It's the crazy people who are. It's like
yes. I mean, I certainly
like Andrew Sullivan talks about it.
Yes, I love Andrew Sullivan.
He's a genius.
He's so sensible.
He is. And he's like a gay guy. He's a liberal. That's called a conservative now.
Well,
he's not.
He was fairly conservative liberally, but not crazy conservative.
No, but you can sit down and love having dinner with him.
Absolutely, and I do. We are supported by Wine Enthusiast. It's summertime, time to hang and enjoy friends and family. Every time you go to the store, you can't resist buying a few bottles of wine. Pretty soon your house is overrun with wine bottles. Not only can summer heat and light spoil your wine and your good time, wouldn't it be nice to have them in a sleek, great-looking wine fridge from Wine Enthusiast? Wine Enthusiast designs and offers the largest selection of wine coolers for every drinker, every budget and every size collection, from 6 to 600 bottles. Plus, expert wine storage consultants are available by phone to help you find the right fit for all your needs. Wine Enthusiast is the premier destination for the wine lifestyle, offering an incredible selection of unique wine accessories, glassware, furniture, wine storage, gifts, and more. I love Wine Enthusiast. They sent some fantastic custom club random glassware for me and my guests to use. Appreciate it. Nobody has even dropped one yet. Visit wineenthusiast.com or text the code RANDOM to 511-511 to check out all of Wine Enthusiast's summer savings. Text RANDOM to 511-511. Text RANDOM to 511-511 today. Certain exclusions may apply. You may receive up to one additional text. Text fees may apply. Text STOP to opt out. Did you know HBO Max had podcasts? Now go even deeper inside your favorite shows with audio companions to some of the most groundbreaking and award-winning shows on television. The HBO Max Series Hacks is back. Oh good, with a new season and a new companion podcast. In each episode, Hacks creators Lucia Aniello, Paul W. Downs, and Jen Statsky will be joined by a special guest host like Hannah Einbinder, Darcy Carden, Susie Essman, and more. Unpack each episode of Deborah and Ava's hijinks. Listeners will hear stories from the show's writers, room, on-set, and the world of stand-up and entertainment that inspired the show. You can listen to the official Hacks podcast on HBO Max and wherever you get your podcasts. But I'm certainly on your page in general that what happened with liberalism is an actual undoing of liberalism.
Yes.
In fact, that's in the thing I'm writing this week that's going to be on Friday.
Illiberal, in the guise of liberalism, like what Carvey said.
That they go 10 subway stops past what made sense. You know, what you were just saying about gay marriage and stuff, that made sense. And then we have to fall asleep on the F train and wake up at men are pregnant.
Yeah, I'm
That's
sorry.
what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
We fell asleep on the train, and when it came to the end of the line, we were at men are pregnant.
And if you say they can't get pregnant, you're fucking kicked off twatter.
Right. Yes.
So but that's a lunacy that we have to fucking call. But the thing about it is that the liberalism, just to make it simplified, a bunch of fucking pussies that won't call bullshit on bullshit. And the people that do, we get grouped in as, like me, I get grouped in as a right winger now, and I'm not.
Right. Well, that also has to do with the medical aspect, which you and I both have got our share of shit about.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think it should be a political issue at all. But it becomes a political issue because the people who believe that I should be able to make medical decisions, which are personal decisions outside of politics, I should be able to make all of those on my own.
That has cost me more than anything else.
Especially in a country that has done such a shit job keeping its population healthy. And then you want to tell me, oh, follow these people. Well, I don't want to. I want to follow. Obama told me, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
Yeah.
Well, I do like my doctor, and I have kept more than one doctor, but they all are at variance with what Fauci and a lot of other people say.
When
and I want to follow my doctors.
When doctors are afraid to actually say what they think what's best for the patient, there's no drug that's 100% safe 100% of the time for 100% of the people. And you have to, where there is risk, there must be choice, or we don't have freedom. It's medical
and we all have different health profiles. I mean, the idea that they tell you from Washington, all do this. Like, what other thing that you went to the doctor for would they ever do that? I mean, if you had a decent doctor, he would look at everything. He would look at your history, your profile.
You have to weigh risk,
all the different
for
factors.
Reward.
If he was a real good doctor, he'd also say, and what do you eat? And how many metals do you have in your body? How much do you spend time on your phone with the thing next to your head? There's a million different factors. How many x-rays have you had? How much mercury? All these things. But that's not the country we live in. The country we live in is, you do it our way. This is one thing we do and it's mostly, for the people who care for themselves the least. Now, that's your choice.
That is
but
true.
I don't want to have to.
We have to say this, and it's hard because there is a kindness underneath this, but that kindness is fucking killing people.
Correct.
The liberalism is the way to think. It is the right way. Freedom of speech, to choose what you want to do. But what happens is when we get to the point when we say, we have to accept everybody as they are, and we have to accept these obese people. I'm sorry. If any weight is healthy, then what about anorexic people? I'm sorry, that's not fucking healthy, and we have to stop being political about health.
I'm gonna just correct this because I bet you don't mean it either. We have to accept all people.
Yes,
we certainly
and
accept,
love all people.
Exactly. What we don't have to do, this was my editorial last week, then of course they all went nuts on Twitter about it. What we don't have to do is accept lies like healthy at any weight.
Yes, we have to.
That's a lie, and I don't accept lies. People said to me, your thing about obesity last week, it wasn't about obesity. I've done those before. My thing last week was about lying. Just don't lie to me. Don't tell me healthy at any weight. And we do that all the time.
We do that. What happens is it's under the mask of kindness, which is fucking things up. I was very good friends with Dick Gregory.
Same thing with homeless.
Well, Dick Gregory.
You mentioned homeless?
Yes. Well, Dick Gregory, if I talk about the fatness,
Dick Gregory, who was really the Jackie Robinson of comedy. He really was. And we had a nice documentary that it was Andre, I'm sorry, I forget his name now, who directed it. He did a beautiful job. And the family is a beautiful family. This guy used to have to break down walls to get obese people out so that they didn't die in this place, and get them on this diet of this just literally a liquid diet until they could lose hundreds of pounds, and they did.
Right.
And this guy dedicated his life to this. So we can't just ignore the fact it is not kind. You can love everybody.
Right.
But let's talk about how to get people healthy.
With homeless, it's not kind.
It isn't.
To leave them on the street. This is my thing and your thing, I think, about going 10 subway stops past where we should be. With homelessness, somehow they got to the place where not getting them off the streets was compassion. Right? How dare you?
Yeah.
You can't, what? That would be the old way of being compassion. You don't have a house. I'm going to try to get you one and put you in one.
Yes.
But now the compassion is no.
Well,
that's their what lifestyle?
Well, that's what happens.
Sleeping under the stars?
Well, it is under the mask of kindness. There's an ugliness. What happens is there's
a stupidity sometimes.
It is. Well, you have it in San Francisco. And let me just tell you, I never thought
I know that's your place.
Oh my God, I never thought I'd give it up. I had a place with a
remembering
view,
now,
a rooftop.
I used to go to a nightclub you own.
Yes, the DNA Lounge.
The DNA Lounge. When I used to do stand up and then go to clubs.
Oh yeah, those were fun.
Oh my God, I always say this. I'm gonna write, when I write my memoirs, it's gonna be called "Who Was in My Body." Because who was in my body when I used to go out to clubs?
Oh yeah.
Like alone. Like I do a show and then tell the driver, yeah, take me to the DNA Lounge. But I love that club.
That was fun.
When that was going off, because San Francisco is a town, I must tell you, where it's hard to find the party.
It is.
It's cliquey.
Yes.
It's, it's a little snobby.
For sure.
It's small. And so I never, but that place.
I had that place wired. Let me tell you something else.
You did.
I had it wired, and also when I had
many
a movie
levels.
star. Yeah. And when you own a club, and that was fun at the time. I know I lost money and it was worth every penny. But let me tell you, I had a movie star. Huh?
Who was in your body?
Well,
that you started a fucking
it was just
disco.
The thing about it was my brother at the time, he was looking for something to do would be fun. And my dad and I made the mistake of surrounding him with women while he was married, women and drugs.
At the club?
It was just there.
Right.
It was still
a club.
It was the end of the 80s, early 90s with some of that druggy kind of came in there. But it was a fun, special time but at the same time, what happened, I thought I'd never give up that San Francisco place. I'm talking about when the Angels planes come by, Blue Angels.
Blue Angels, yeah.
From my rooftop of my condo, it was a 100-year-old building. I could see the helmet and the glasses on the dude. They would buzz it, and I had a view of the bay. To me, that was
Why were the Blue
making
Angels flying over San Francisco?
No, because they would do it every year. Around July 4th.
For what?
You'd go up on the roof and you'd, smoke a bong and you'd watch these guys.
But
the
what
Blue Angels.
Must have been for a reason.
Oh, no, it was just celebrating July 4th.
Oh, July 4th.
So it was just the Blue Angels every year. But anyway, and then I started getting these bills.
I bet you that didn't go over well at Berkeley.
Right across the way, I'm sure they hated it. So anyway, then I started getting these bills. This is not that long ago. For literally you need to remove the toilets in front of your house. And I was like, I don't have toilets in front of my house. What are you talking about?
Really?
And so I went out there, and they were using the flower pots as toilets.
The homeless?
Yes. And now, let's go back and realize when this started. And it was under the Reagan administration.
I guess you could say that's considerate.
Yeah, at least they were using the flower pots. So
fertilizer.
They were actually the very...
I understand your tomatoes were amazing that year.
But it was Reagan that fucked it up by closing the mental health places.
Yes.
And that was the beginning of the end of that. And then you had, it was a slow build. And now you have a point where in San Francisco, it's crazy. You can't, this, where they give you drugs. People come from all over the world to get the free drugs in San Francisco.
Right.
That's a point where this is enabling. If you were the mother, they would come and say, you got to stop doing this.
Right.
You're enabling your kid to do these drugs. And so you have that.
And where are these free drugs?
right across from City Hall.
It's a joke that really shouldn't work at my age because, like, if anyone thought about it, they'd be like, come on, Bill.
Yeah.
You're rich. You're 66. You don't need free drugs.
Write it out into the write it out into the sunset.
It's that joke. Come on, it's an anachronism. Leno would not be.
You know, give it a try. You know, it depends on your audience. You know, if these are the guys that you're rooting for, you go for it.
But we had fun up in San Francisco when we did that show.
Oh.
We had just like 3,500 crazy people.
I remember.
Huge fans of Politically Incorrect.
Yeah.
And we had a blast.
Yeah.
At that time, the show's different than your show now. And I love your show.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is,
Thank you.
listen to me, the problem. I'm going to be, here's the problem with your show, is that like there needs, in the old show, we would go half the show that had nothing to do with politics. We would just go off on some funny tangent.
That's why I'm doing this.
Well, this, yes.
Because this doesn't have to be political, and real time is. I mean, it gets into pop culture issues if they rise, like Johnny Depp trial, if they rise to the level of something that's intellectually nutritious.
Well, where else are there conversations except your show?
Exactly.
Conversations.
Right, about something real.
Yeah.
Not just about trivial. Look, everybody else is interviewing the third lead on a sitcom.
Right.
That's not what I'm interested in, and that's not what I'm doing. And you know, the show is.
You are more centrist. You've always been a liberal that I respect. And because a liberal with principles.
Somehow a liberal and also a libertarian. Because when Politically Incorrect was first on, all they said, the word that was in every article was libertarian. Because I am a libertarian. But I'm also a liberal. I'm also a conservative. I'm also whatever works and makes sense.
Right, it makes sense. But the problem is now is that you don't have this. You no longer have this debate for better ideas. What you have now is a demonizing and censoring of people.
Yes.
Now that is coming specifically from the party in power and the tech companies, and that's illiberal liberalism. So that's why I've gone down that road of conservatism, because you have to fight against this shit. You have to, because if we continue to give into this shit, the very foundations of what we love about this country are being diminished.
Well, they're being diminished and threatened from both sides.
I would agree with you.
Okay.
The extremists on both sides, because if you go between LA and
the extremists on one side are like at least 40% of the party, of the Republican Party.
You really believe that?
I don't believe that. That's what the polls show. At least 40% of the party, of the Republican Party, thinks Donald Trump won the election in 2020. That's plainly not the case.
Well, would you say that? Here's their argument.
Beyond the shadow of a doubt,
just tell you
he did not win the election in 2020. It's an ultimate deal breaker.
I'm here with you.
You either come to the Jesus moment on that reality.
Okay, but here's where you put your wall up, and I'm just going to ask a question.
It's not a wall. Yes, my wall is reality. That's reality. Trump lost that election. Reality.
The election is
like,
over.
This is a fucking wall. You see?
Can I ask a question?
There's no give in this. No give at all.
But then let me just ask a question. Then if the certainty is there,
and he didn't build the wall.
But they are now, but they're not admitting it. We're not finishing the wall. We're cleaning up what the former administration did. Is that building a wall? We're not building a wall. We're just simply cleaning up stuff in the form of a wall. We're taking some garbage that was there.
I don't know why people need a wall at all.
Each guy need a fucking wall. But wouldn't you say, as someone who was not a popular leader, somehow in the tally of the votes, and I have just putting this as a question, he somehow got more votes than Obama. I'm just asking as a question of just...
Well, there were more people. Obama ran in 2012. He ran in 2020. There are more people. I mean, you know, their arguments are just...
I'm just asking a question.
Well, it's a dumb question because it's been 2 years since the election or more, and we've answered these questions. And again, if you watch any of the January 6th trial, these are, hearings. These are all.
I like that there's no cross.
There's no cross. All Republicans testifying.
But I also like that there's you can't. There's no cross examination. That's an interesting trial. I would say that's Stalinistic.
That was their choice. That was their choice.
Well, they refused to participate in a blah, 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 blah.
But I would say the fact that everybody who we hear from is a Republican is cross-examination enough. Because what?
But when you have somebody talking, here's the bullshit you have to fucking call on this. Now, just let's lose party for a second and say when it's hearsay evidence from somebody who talked to somebody who knew somebody that lived next to somebody who was the driver in the fucking limo. I mean, look, Trump is not. That was not okay to put yourself over country. That is a gigantic red line that no one should ever cross. And that goes against the last great progressive.
Then why are we arguing?
No, because at the same time you have to respect.
Then we're done. We're done.
But at the same time,
red line you can't cross.
You can't cross that.
Right. Okay. He did.
He did.
We're done.
That is a that will go down in history.
Okay.
So that will go down in history as a gigantic blunder.
And you know, to your point about was there hearsay? Yes. The thing about grabbing the wheel of the limo, I see that you're kind of upset about that. I agree. It probably didn't happen, and the P-tape probably didn't happen.
Well, but
doesn't
get away from show it.
Okay, but
don't put that out there. Stick to the facts.
There are mistakes, but the facts are he still hasn't conceded the election to this day. He has not conceded the election. That is an ongoing day-by-day act of sedition. That's
a big word that I'm gonna have to look up and call Jay about. Let me say this. That is a travesty, and that is a detriment to our country. That goes against the great leaders of our country, the last progressive president of our country, who had a lot of issues too. He fucked up with Vietnam. Obviously, you can say that after, but you can also say and the hate list that Nixon had. However, we have to. When it came time for him to put country first, he did.
Yes,
and that's a detriment to Trump's.
Talk about Nixon.
Yes.
Okay. As long as we're talking about Nixon and not Trump.
Right.
Nixon is to me, head and shoulders above Trump, even on his drunkest day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nixon,
I mean,
and I'm not a giant Nixon fan, and he was
you should be.
pretty shitty in some ways. But yes, absolutely. Before
he was a good guy, man.
Watergate ensnared him.
Can I throw one at you?
And he became.
Yes, I mean, he became paranoid and a list of whatever.
He absolutely was a centrist, a smart guy.
Can I throw one at you? You don't know.
You're right. EPA.
No. More than just the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and making sure that women had a chance to play sports equally. Title IX.
Yes.
He also was for universal health care. Let me just tell you that.
Yes.
And he was opposed by who?
Yes, absolutely.
Who was he opposed by?
Oh, the Democrats.
Edward Kennedy.
Really?
So now, so you have like people who had a chance to put in stuff.
Edward Kennedy was against universal health care?
Absolutely. You look it up.
I will look it up.
The other thing is that like...
I didn't know that.
Well, like talking about abortion...
But he was
since you brought it up.
but when
Obama had a chance to legislate that and said it's not a list of priorities.
Nixon became president in...
Yes.
Wait a second.
68.
No, he was elected in 68.
69.
He took office January 20th, my birthday, 1969. On my half birthday, July 20th, people landed on the moon and Ted Kennedy drove into a river.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I don't know if that had anything to do with his view of health care. Maybe he was distracted. But I can't believe that Ted Kennedy was against universal health.
You got to look it up. If I'm wrong about that, I
will look it
up.
But it doesn't matter. The bigger point remains that Nixon was a smart, even Vietnam, which obviously was one of our big tragedies in American history.
That's not just the tragedy of Vietnam, but it's Laos and it's Cambodia. It had nothing to do with the fucking war. It bombed them anyway.
Easy. It's always easy to get into a war. It's hard to get out.
Yes.
And Nixon did get out, but of course it took a whole 4 years. Now, could somebody have done better? Yes, probably. But I don't know. I can't remember. And it's too far back in time. All I know is in Sean Penn's great movie about, I forget the name of the movie, Nixon's in the title, but there's a guy, because he's a salesman, that's the part he's playing, and he says, Richard Nixon ran for office in 1968. On the platform of getting America out of Vietnam.
Yes.
He didn't do it, and in 1972, he ran on the platform of getting America out of Vietnam. That's a salesman. Right?
Yes, well, my dad voted for him in '68 because he was talking about getting us out of that war.
Right.
See, that's the thing about people need to know that like people fight for domestic things on a very not even enough of them, frankly, because they won't go up. They won't go up against the pharmaceutical, controlled government that we have now. But at the same time, the foreign policy stays the same. That's why like 40 billion in Ukraine, and God knows how much is getting to the front, whatever. Oh. It's extending this conflict, and it's both parties. Both parties are wrong about this. And like there are very few journalists who step up. We have to first of all, we should have never allowed it to become a fight. We should have Gorbachev, let me tell you, Gorbachev was promised by James Baker, not 10 steps past Poland.
That's a long time ago.
I know it is, but I'm telling you that the Russians were told that not 10 steps past Poland. That was the promise, and now they're at the border putting missiles at the border. Just imagine China putting missiles in Mexico.
But that was the last century, and Gorbachev was I think Gorbachev, was one of the
let's talk about missiles in Mexico.
Statesmen in history who hasn't gotten his due.
Hasn't, but he will. Let me tell you this.
Yes, he will.
Let's take China wanting China's influence. Let's put China putting missiles in Mexico pointed to us. That's what we're talking about with missiles from NATO pointed at Russia from Ukraine. So I just want to say, because that goes against the grain from what everybody wants to do.
What time is your double date with?
I quit. I'm not doing another show tonight. I'm going to stay here till midnight.
What time is your double date with Patton Oswalt?
I don't know. No, first of all, he's a funny comic. I don't mean to shit on, but I thought
neither one of us shit on him.
I think the photo thing pissed me off.
I don't blame you. When he tweeted about me, whatever it was, it pissed me off. But what I'm saying is, apropos to our discussion about the country at large.
Yeah.
When I saw Patton, I came to some dinner. I remember it was like a year after, I don't know, 2 years, who knows? I smoked pot, and
my phone's ringing. I'm supposed to be at that club. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Bitch.
Sorry, I can't talk now.
That's all right. I'll wrap it up. But when I went to a dinner. I think Al Franken was there. Sarah was there.
Yeah.
And I didn't know Patton was there. I could have been like, this fucking asshole. He, and I think it was something I said about Islam, which I'm clear-eyed about, and not an Islamophobe.
Yeah.
And not a racist. It's a religion, not a race. We won't get into that, but yes, it's one of those issues where the woke are very, very benighted, and I'm clear-eyed about it without being, I think,
when they attack people like that beautiful woman, what's her name?
Ayaan Hirsi Ali.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She's a hero.
Absolutely.
The fact that she's not embraced by the liberal intelligentsia says so much about the liberal
Sam Harris tells a great story about a bunch of white girls walking out on Ayaan Hirsi Ali.
You're kidding.
That's
a crime.
Someone who was brought up in Somalia and was the victim of genital mutilation and lots of other horrible patricidal nonsense.
Oh, unbelievable!
That Western women pretend that they're so against. Anyway,
and then she goes. Let's continue. She goes to Holland.
The point is,
becomes a legislator.
I certainly thought he was out of line with whatever he tweeted about me. But instead of, like, when I was younger, I probably would have been like, I'm not even talking to him.
Yeah.
Because we were always feuding when we were young. I was like, okay, maybe he had a bad day, or maybe we can talk this out. And so that's what America has to do.
Yes.
Like, I don't hate you. You said one thing which I really thought was out of line, but maybe if I just engaged you, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah. And I wound up talking to him about health, and he wound up saying, I have emails, or I don't have them, but I had them. It were like, you really saved my life, because I'm doing this, like, I hipped him onto this, like, certain kind of fast you could do and stuff like that. I mean, that's what America has to do.
Right.
And he's really he's a super talented guy and a great guy. He's clearly, like, again, I think some of these people get
hardworking, brilliant guy,
indoctrinated into stuff. I think they watch too much MSNBC all day, and it's like
it's coming from a place of trying to be so fucking nice, of doing so perfect.
Exactly.
You're no longer a human being.
And I just want to talk to them, but again, you have to talk to people, and of course, it's the same thing with the right. I mean, you and I argued tonight, but it wasn't. It was wonderful. We can disagree and still love each other and still respect each other. There's not one moment where I said to myself, Rob isn't agreeing with me fully on this. I hate him and he's stupid. That's not what I said at all, even in my mind. that's where we have to go.
That is, and that's where we're not that far apart, because once you have conversations, the problem is we don't have a media that is allowing dissent and conversation. And so you don't really have any objectivity. And I will tell you the story from, I won't say his name, but like a friend of mine who's a former Fortune 500 CEO was having a conversation with the publisher of the New York Times. And he was saying, there seems to be a lack of a certain discernibility to which side you're leaning towards. And he was trying to be very, just like a CEO would be, very, very, calm and also not deliberate and not attacking. And he said, I feel it as my, and the New York Times, the publisher is like, I feel it is my moral duty above and beyond anything that to make sure that Donald Trump does not become president again. And while I agree that Donald Trump there's clearly that happened.
Yeah, that's not really the job of the newspaper.
But it is.
Just tell me the facts.
You have to.
Because the facts about Donald Trump are so damning that you don't need to put your thumb on the scale.
I mean, just the fact that if you go down the road and see the times that he'd had his buildings built and didn't pay people, that says all you need to know. That's it. However, you have to also respect. There is something about, like, even though I couldn't say that he had respect for the office himself, I do think that we need to continue to have respect for our office. We need to respect the executive branch. We need to definitely respect, the judicial branch. That is very alarming to me. Thomas Sowell is brilliant.
I love him.
Now.
Love him.
But he's talking about
90, right?
we had 92. He said
92.
We have crossed
Brilliant.
the Rubicon here, where we can threaten judges. That is very unique. And that is the reason why that's a law. That is happening and that is not being prosecuted.
Rob,
that's a real issue.
The kids who don't know von Ribbentrop, what are they going to make about the Rubicon?
I will say, look, that the fact that you and I,
I'm so glad we did this. Can I tell you that it's been a long time.
It's been too long.
One of the great things about this fucking Club Random thing is there's not a lot, but a few people who I really haven't connected with ever. But I always wanted to. I knew them, but didn't really know them. And then I sit here, and it's like, oh my God, we wasted a lot of years. I feel like we wasted a lot of years, but I hope we don't waste.
I hope we don't.
No, because I enjoy talking to you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And I so appreciate the balls you have to not, Kanye West, who I have, like everyone, some issues with lots of stuff. But when he said about Trump, the mob can't make me hate him, I was like, I love you for that. And you know how I feel about Trump. But the mob can't make me, exactly. Somehow we have to keep both those things in our mind at the same time. I can hate Donald Trump and I can love Kanye West for saying, the mob can't make me hate him. And I feel like, among a very few people, the mob doesn't make you, your career, whatever it is, they can threaten. The mob can't make you do what you don't believe or what you don't think. That is, to me, something that I find, I'm so admiring of that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And it has cost me dearly in this bullshit show businessy thing. But I will say this, and it's just like, a guy like Mark Twain, who just, this is when we didn't have, our presidents weren't getting some kind of pension. And Grant, at that time, was writing his autobiography to make money.
Ulysses S. Grant.
Ulysses S. Grant. And he
Civil
went
War
there to help
general and President of the United States
this guy
from 1869.
Broke. Yeah, and it broke. And he wanted to make sure, he wanted to make sure that his wife could pay off this farm.
After Andrew Johnson.
and this guy.
That misunderstood bastard.
Mark Twain went there and helped him finish that book. And did that for the
Is that right? I never knew that.
Now,
Mark Twain finished Grant's book? Because I know Grant was on his deathbed. He wanted the money for his family.
Yes.
And Mark Twain came in.
Went there and absolutely did.
You know what? I thought when I read it, I saw some Twain in there. I was like, I feel like it was either Mark Twain or Robert Towne. But somebody fucking ghost wrote that shit.
But that is something, that's a guy to me, I really respect that incredible man, Samuel Clemens. And I do feel like he was aware of his time.
Yes.
And I do feel like you have to, for whatever reason, whatever fame, whatever I've had, I think you have to be somewhat aware of our times in our times.
Right.
Like, hanging out with Dick Gregory made me, he said that
you
joke.
hung out with him?
Well, yeah, I knew Dick pretty darn good, because I had like 20 years ago, when I got hired.
He died recently, right?
He did, yeah. And he was out there. Last time I called him, just to say hi, he yelled at me because I called from Hawaii. I was doing some show over there with Adam Sandler, and I call him up and he said, so what do you call me right now for? And I went like, Dick, I just want to tell you I love you. I haven't told you. I haven't told you. He said, I got to go on stage in 45 minutes. I mean, don't you come on, you know what it's like doing. I'm going over my shit, man. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Dick. Last time I ever spoke to him. But the thing was, like, Dick was, he would have jokes about, like, by the time he would bring America together with his jokes, very much like George Carlin did. But he would say, before George Carlin was Dick Gregory, and he would say, like, by the time that finally I was able to eat in a diner next to a white man, they didn't have anything I wanted. It's like, and I said, no, that's a joke.
He was good. I got to look him up.
So
I know all his
I think
biography, but I
put country before career at some point. This country's given me everything, and for someone from my background, who and mixed race background, I do feel like I've always kind of felt like an outsider. When you're Asian and American,
you got to play that card more.
Well, I don't. Because I don't want to be that fucking guy. To be like, you need one Asian.
Rob,
who needs that shit?
On,
I know it's the time to do it, right?
It really is. You're a person of color.
I just need that, and I need some kind of sexual abuse that happened to me, and so that I could. And then I got the whole package.
All right. Well, we can arrange the abuse. All right. Thank you.
Club Random.
Hey, this was great. Let's do it again.
Give me a big monkey box.